Otis, let's bring you back into this conversation. What stood out to you?
Well, let's take your last point there about the children. And of course, two things can be true at the same time. And it is true that the police department has done a really good job of reaching out to young people, to addressing the issues with truancy and a whole lot of issues around our children in this community, and they have done a fine job. But on the other hand, there have also been instances, and they didn't necessarily refute this, that the police officers sometimes get a little bit too heavy-handed when it comes to children, especially ones who don't necessarily toe the line completely, don't respond respectfully, and they may have been over-aggressive sometimes with some people in the community. So two things can be true at the same time with that. Overall, again, as we said earlier on, I'm not surprised that the city at this point is not agreeing to any consent decree. It's too early for that. They need to read the report. They need to, they probably need to issue a more extensive response to the report later on once they do that. And I think that they will. But you can't get around the fact that this is a scathing report by the Justice Department about the pattern and practices of the Memphis Police Department, and they are going to have to address that completely.
Right. What do you think this does to the morale inside of MPD?
Well, I don't think it can help at all here. And we got to look at a little bit of history here. Morale has been somewhat of an issue in the police department for quite a while. Let's go back to even the George Floyd case. Morale started to go down a little bit then because, you know, a lot of people in the community just thought all police officers were the same as what happened in Minneapolis. And so morale is going to be an issue here. You know, the police department has been slow to get the staffing levels up over the last several years. A lot of that is because people are retiring from the police department because they don't want to have anything else to do with it because it's too tough. And so morale is going to have to be an issue that Chief Davis is going to have to address.
Something to consider for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's turn now to Lauren Turnman, who is live outside of City Hall, who was inside of that room addressing Memphis Mayor Paul Young and also Interim Police Chief C.J. Davis. Lauren.
Yeah, that's right, Yvonne. There was a lot that we heard from Mayor Young and Chief Davis in regards to this press conference today following what the DOJ had said earlier. Specifically, a lot of emphasis here on community-based solutions that they are seeking rather than a consent decree, in which they feel like might potentially cost the city millions of dollars. There are some other solutions that they mentioned, including some community forums, some different town halls, and Mayor Young has also been doing that, but specifically related to the findings of this investigation. We did ask a question about some discriminatory policing, and Mayor Young did reiterate many times that he has not yet read this report, but will be going over it more extensively. But again, saying a lot more community-based solutions that might be less costly for the city. Also, Chief Davis had mentioned a lot about some of the initiatives and efforts that she is making to try to help curb some of the discriminatory accusations that the DOJ has made against the Memphis Police Department, specifically looking at some of the extensive modifications. We know that there are some AI-enhanced cameras that are coming up, some exclusive training opportunities, and plenty of other things that she had really mentioned here to make sure that she reiterated that they are looking for solutions at this time that don't necessarily have to go the route of the consent decree. And again, a lot of different efforts. Mayor Young cited more than 13% decrease in crime across the city of Memphis, and a lot of other things that he was stating specifically to make sure that we understood more about the extensive efforts that the city is making. And again, of course, as we receive more updates in this case and on this investigation, we will update you. But for now, live at City Hall, I'm Lauren Turnman.
Lauren, thank you so much for that report. We appreciate it. We would be remiss if we did not mention the reason why we are here. Right. We are here because a man lost his life. That man's name is Tyree Nichols. Right. Tyree Nichols died in January of 2023. He was a father to a son who was 4 years old at the time when he died. Nichols is actually from Sacramento, but he came here to Memphis just before the pandemic. and decided to stay after getting a job with FedEx. Nichols actually worked the second shift at FedEx with his stepfather, Rodney Wells. And every day they would come home together on their lunch break at about 7 p.m. And his mom, Rovon Wells, would have a meal waiting for them. He was the baby of his family and an avid skateboarder. Definitely we have to remember Tyree Nichols.
No question about it. I mean, that started this whole thing. And again, we go back to the body-worn cameras
Yes.
and the stationary cameras. Without that, we probably never would have had the level that we've had since Tyree Nichols' murder. That started the whole thing. It started the investigation by the Justice Department. I do think that the police department and the mayor may have put just a little bit too much emphasis on how much cost would be involved here. Yes, it would be expensive, but I think they spent too much time talking about that because how much is public safety really worth in terms of dollars and cents? So I was a little bit concerned about that. And one last thing about they talked about the crisis intervention team,
Yes.
which actually really started back in after a similar incident with a disturbed young man in 1987. The police shot and killed a guy. So that has been around for a long time, and to hear that they're not doing a great job with the crisis intervention team tells me that they need to revisit that as well.
Yeah. It looks like, from what we've been able to hear from all groups, we've come a long way, but there is still a lot left to do.
There's no question about it.
Thank you so much, Otis, for joining us here.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for watching where you are. You can stay with us. Coming up at 11 a.m., we'll be right back here on ABC24 News midday at 11. But you can stay in the know anywhere, anytime, in the palm of your hand by downloading our free ABC24 News app. Text the word app to 901-321-7520 to download it today. We'll see you at 11.